And we are live. We are live on YouTube. Thanks everyone for being here. Everyone that has already commented on the was waiting for the live stream to begin. Thank you. Pelon, Vito Griffin, Latin Indian, Good Citizen, John Eagle, hey brother. Richard Phillips, Bernabe Sanchez, Brooklyn Bala. Thanks everyone for being here. Last week we had a live stream, and this is going to be a continuance. We did it on Facebook last time. So if you all missed it, you can go to Cornish News on Facebook and revisit or watch the first part. We're trying out different platforms, see where it works best. And we have with us again Mr. Fred Gutierrez, a good friend of mine. It's been a good friend for many years. He's been helping me with a lot of stuff, especially legal stuff. So
a lot of
Fred Gutierrez.
education.
Oh yeah, definitely, Mr. Fred. The floor is yours.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Hope you had a good day and your week's been good. If you recall, last week we talked a little bit about the initial portion of a seminar we used to do years ago called the Freedom Law Seminar, where we gave people the first part was called the Foundations of Law, which was called simply and affectionately by us Above the Line and Below the Line. And you'll see here where that line is. And if you remember the first part, if you want to pull up the first part, the top part of that page, Ismael, and I'm just going to do like a quick 2 to 3 minute recap, and then we'll move on to the bottom part of that. And this is all one sheet that we taught. Go ahead, if you can find it.
Yeah, let me find the first part.
Okay. So this continuation ties into this, where we learn how who we are in relationship to jurisdiction, the words of law, how they affect us on a daily basis, and who we are in relationship to the law at any given time. And when I kind of, through my studies, came up with this, I drafted this out really quickly. It was quite a revelation. I was like, oh my gosh, the law is actually very simple and clear. And not that I'm a genius or anything like that when it comes to this, because there's a history of people that actually go back thousands of years that actually had the foundations of the law put in their hands, and it just kind of found its way forward through time to where we are, and taking things to the point of the Constitution. And this gets even better when we get into the Constitution a little more, and we start getting into the actual Constitution and the Bill of Rights. But the simplicity of this is that God is the ultimate authority, and this is a key word. The word author means power to create, and it's been misused through history, and this is all in the previous one. But God is the ultimate authority. He created us in his image. If you look through the middle of that page, we the people were granted dominion over this earth, not to put the earth in submission, but granted dominion, which means God himself is on the earth through us. And through years of viewing what had gone on in all the countries around the world through our history, and what the colonists were experiencing with King George at that time in the 1700s, we decided to, our founding fathers created the first document, the Declaration of Independence, in which we decided that we were no longer going to be part of England, that we were going to be a separate colony for a variety of reasons, actually a separate country. And the following the Declaration, and most people didn't know this, don't know this, I didn't know this, is that prior to President George Washington being elected in the late 1700s, 1791, I think it was, we had 8 other presidents that preceded him that were presidents of the Continental Congress. And I was like, what? I didn't know this until I was like in my late 30s, early 40s, and I was stunned. And so I researched this and was like, oh my gosh, the Constitution itself wasn't created, and it was created by the people, because we realized we had to have a form of government to help to ensure that our rights were protected, and that they would take care of certain things. But they were always going to be in service to the people. Now, starting with that, you see on the bottom there, the Constitution. The Constitution was created by the people as the supreme law of the land to protect us and to ensure that our freedoms would be guaranteed and protected through our laws. Now, all of our rights are God granted. Anytime you hear anybody say our constitutional rights, or you hear them say the word democracy, I'm sorry, I don't care who's saying it, they're absolutely not on point. Because the word democracy does not exist in either the Declaration of Independence, nor does it exist in the Constitution. We do not have a democracy. If you look at Article 4 of the Constitution, it says that this Constitution and the legislature is guaranteed every state in the Union a republican form of government, which means the res publicus, the thing created by the people, which is the constitutions. Now, the Constitution you see underneath there is the supreme law of the land. Now, I'm not going to just make this stuff up. I'm not going to just talk for the sake of it. The Constitution in and of itself states this in Article 6. And if you read Article 6, paragraph 2, it says, this Constitution and the laws of the United States which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land. And the judges in every state shall be bound thereby. Anything in the Constitution of laws of any state or laws of any state to the contrary, which means that they conflict with the Constitution, they don't have any standing, notwithstanding. And this is called the supremacy clause. And that's why that's so important, because people say, well, what's the law? And we get confused with all statutes and all the legislative things created and the city ordinances, something like that. What is the ultimate authority? Well, in simplicity, you, my friend, are the authority, because God granted it to us and we created the Constitution, and throughout the Constitution, our authority is recognized. Okay? Now, why don't they teach you this in school with a proper perspective? Because maybe they don't want you to know. It's a question. They want you to bow down to anybody who claims to be an authority. Now, this is important because the issue of status and jurisdiction is going to be something you're going to be dealing with every single day of your life, probably by the hour and the minute. The status, who you are in relationship to what laws, are going to be very fluid in any given situation, time, or place. And we'll go more over that later. But the most important thing is to realize that we, the people, are above those that rule. Now, we don't have rulers here, And the word sovereign originally came from the Latin, which means above the kings, which means the people were the ones that have the power. And this is written in the Magna Carta going back to, I think it's 1213 from England, where the people told the king to stuff it, that they were going to overthrow him unless he recognized that we have a common law created by God, and that the courts and the government and the king have to recognize those first as the authority. So that goes way back to 1213. And even our common law, which comes into the existence of our statutes, was accepted 250 years ago up to the present day. So we decided certain things in the Constitution. If you look on the right side is there, it says we have a judicial form of justice, which is described in Article 3. Judicial is different than who? The king deciding what to do with you. We will have a judiciary. Certain things we're allowed to do. We have the unlimited right to create contracts with one another without interference from a government or a king. And we have the definition, and this is important, of what crime is. A crime is very specific because today we get confused with a lot of things going on in our laws. We think if there's an ordinance or if there's a traffic issue that these things are laws. Well, not really. They're not crimes, I should say. They're not crimes. They're actually administrative ordinances which are dealt with there that affect administrative issues, which I'm going to go into in a minute. The real issues of crime are when one of the people with a criminal intent injures or damages one of the people and or their property in some way. Now that's not always just tangible. There's certain things outside of, wrecking somebody's car, breaking into their house, or damaging their property like that. One of the ones that involve the First Amendment, which is not protected speech, is the defamation of character, when you slander somebody through words. And there's defamation comes from slander and libel. Libel's in print or through other nonverbal means. So you can be damaged or injured by that. But we have definitions of what crimes are, and the statutes cover those. Every state and even the federal government on the United States Code Title 18 describes criminal actions. Now, we'll get more into that later on. We might talk a little bit about that tonight, but we want to go for only about an hour because we don't want to burn you out. Your head is going to be full when we're done, and I'll try to slow down at some point, but not right now. Okay. So now we know what a crime is. A crime is when one of the people with criminal intent injure or damage one of the people and or their property. Pretty clear, right? And who's going to decide that? A judicial justice system, a judiciary. It's not going to be by the king or somebody else. It's not going to be a police officer who decides that. It's not going to be the tax clerk or anybody like that. It's going to be somebody who's been legislated in the position of a judge or justice. And I love that because we have everything created through the constitutions to define every title we're going to come across here in just a minute. So now going back to the middle portion here, we have the Constitution, the supreme law of the land, and it is self-defined. That's what I like about it. It's right there in Article 6, and it says that the Constitution is the supreme law of the land. So, can you still hear me, Ismail?
I think your device switch audio.
Let's see,
I think
can you hear me now?
Yeah, we can still hear you, but the audio is coming from a different. We can still hear you.
Let me know if you can hear me.
Yeah, we can, but it's a different. We can hear you from a different source. I think the audio is coming from your headset.
It shut off.
Yeah, there you go.
Let me see here.
There you go. We can hear you.
Can you hear me with my headset?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes.
Well, if you can't hear with it in, I'm going to take it out.
We can hear you.
Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, so hopefully I won't lose my place here. I'll set these in the right spot. Okay, so now we get to the place where we're talking about the people that we position in government, okay? Now, remember at the time that the country was formed and we created the Constitution in 1789,
It didn't get ratified until 1791. Now, why did it take so long? It took a long time because we didn't attach the amendments to the Constitution, which is the Bill of Rights. So we had to get to that point. But realizing that we needed a government for the military, for certain functions in the government to handle the judiciary and property issues and et cetera, et cetera. That's why the government was created, for the better good of the people and to ensure our rights are protected. Now, at the time the Constitution was written, the reason I go back way back when, and because we're going to go to the next section, which is the oath of office, oath or affirmation of office. We realized that we're just coming away from the battle with England, that we needed to have some guarantees. The people needed some guarantees for the people who are going to work within our government, because we don't want them what? From the inside overthrowing our government and taking over our country and putting us into a similar situation that we had just broken away from just a mere 25 years earlier. Or, yeah, that's right, 25 years earlier in 1776. We didn't want that anymore. So he said, okay, we know there were spies. They had the Spy Act of 1802 that was put in place as well. I've got to remember the name of that. But the Sedition Act. We had all these things to protect people who entered into our government, to make sure that they didn't overthrow our government and our people from within the confines of our government. So one of the things we required, the people required through legislation under Article 6, was an oath or affirmation of office. Now, this is pretty important because we wanted these people, under pains and penalties of perjury, to swear an oath to the Constitution, to the people, to uphold the Constitution. Now, this is one of the things that people don't really get wrong. And so it's there in Article 6. Let me get back here to this, because I want you, because it states that every person that enters in the government Okay. Under 3, we knew we were going to have senators and state representatives. It says right here, which are all defined under Article 1 of the Constitution. The state senators and representatives, actually U.S. representatives and U.S. senators. And it says in paragraph 3 under Article 6, right past the supremacy clause, the senators and representatives before mentioned and the members of the several state legislatures and all executive judicial officers, both of the United States and of the several states, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support this Constitution, but no religious test shall ever be required as a qualification to any office or public trust under the United States. Which means what? We, the people, required in order for our own protection and our own longevity as a sovereign nation, that every single person who was elected or appointed into a governmental position would swear before the people an oath or affirmation to support and defend the Constitution. And it's in every single state. If you go, just tell you something fun. The supremacy clause is listed in either the preamble or the first article of every single constitution in the United States, every state constitution. It's there. People say, how do you know? Just read them, man. We did that just to prove it to people. Nah, it's just wearying. But we just handed them a sheet of paper, said, here it is, and every single one gives you the actual place in the state constitution where it's actually listed. But we also required the oath of office. We didn't want anybody functioning in our office who did not swear to support and defend the constitutions. Why? These are various serious positions that we entrust to these people, and we don't want just anybody in there. We want people that are going to actually do what we hire them to do. And their first duty is to support and defend the Constitution and we the people. That's what we require. So there it is. There's the oath or affirmation. Now I will tell you this. Now the paper, which isn't up at the moment, you see in the middle of it, it's called the oath or affirmation of office. That's the line. Constitution is the line. We, the people, live above that line. That's why I call it above the line, below the line. Above the line is God, you, and the Constitution. We're the ones that created all this through the power of God. And then we have an oath or affirmation of everybody that functions in our government. And we have to be serious about this because we, the people, are the ultimate vigilantes to oversee our government. We, the people, have that duty. And we can't pass that off to anybody else. So below the line is the creation of our government. Now, remember this, everything above the line that we use for trade, everything like that is actually what we'll call real and touchable. Like we used for starting in 1802 when we instituted the Coin Act, the U.S. Coin Act, our money was gold, silver, and copper. Additionally, we could barter using real goods for services or for other properties. So that's what we did. So everything above that line with the Constitution is real and touchable. Now we go below the line, now everything changes. If you look on the bottom there, it says titles. Everything below the line is their titles of fictions that are created through law. There's no such thing as a physical judge in the real world. No such thing. It is a title. And through the legislature, we create a job description for people that become judges. You think of any job description that is governmental or in the public, it is a fictional title that we created through the legislature, and some person wears the clothing of that office during the time that they are positioned. That's really all it is. They are not anything. I remember one time a person told me, "Oh, I'm a judge." I said, "No, you're not." I said, "That may be your job title, but you can't be a judge because I know for a fact there is no DNA for a judge. I know mom and dad had a little baby and then said, 'Oh my gosh, look, we've got a little judge. He's got a little robe on and he's got a little gavel. Guilty, guilty.'" That didn't happen. We choose occupations and positions as we grow up. But it's in the real world, these are only titles of fictions. They aren't real. There's no such thing in the real world other than a fictional title of judge who some person elected or appointed fills that position as we require through the constitutions. Okay? And all these people that work in the public, now remember, you're above the line. You're above the line. All these people that are in the government function with an oath, or if they don't have an oath, they work in certain positions where they have a supervisory oath, to defend and protect the Constitution and ensure that your God-granted rights are protected. That is what we require of them. And one of the things that's actually frustrating that you're going to see as time has gone by, we have become lackadaisical about that. We, the people, have become lackadaisical. Because when somebody violates and perjures their oath, that means they lied to the people. They should be held accountable, not as a misdemeanor, as they do in some situations, but it's a felony. They actually ruined the public trust. We can't trust them anymore when they do things like this. And we become lackadaisical about it. We become a government club and the people that function in the government clubs think that everything they do okay, and everybody in the government through the judiciary and the DA's office and everywhere else, their own counterparts are going to lie for them, cover for them, protect them, because they're all part of that club. It's called the Free Money Political Welfare Club. And I think everybody in public service, I think their income should be cut in half. I think their income should be 70% of the average working American, not more, not better. They shouldn't have a better deal. That crap started in 1978 or 9 under Jimmy Carter as president, and what was his name? Tom Foley was the head of the House of Representatives, a Democrat, not that that matters. But the guy was a communist. They were communists. They wanted the government to have the power and not the people. That's a lot of started years ago. But anyway, and not that I hate these titles. I love the titles. You'll hear this from me, and I mean it with all my heart. I love our country. I love our system of government. I love our system of laws when they're applied properly. The mistake has been made where the people who function in government forget who they're working for. And the people who they work for have not been taught that these people in public servitude, or excuse me, shouldn't say it that way, but people functioning in public service are our employees. They work for us. They never say that. They never talk about that. They function as a title below the line. The people that function there, you're going to hear this all the time. This is another misrepresentation and propaganda. People that function in the government do not have God-granted rights in their positions. They have certain administrative protections and certain legal protections, but they, after all, have a job. They are there to do a job. The job has been established through the legislatures because of us. This is your job. This is your job title. You may have certain discretions, limited discretions, but you as the county clerk do not have the same authority as a justice of the peace or a magistrate or a judge or a district attorney. You have limited delegated authority from the people to perform certain duties that we need to be performed to help ensure the sovereignty of our nation, our
I have a
independence.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
When people say you swore an oath, is it to the Constitution or they swore an oath to who?
They swore an oath to the people.
To the people.
You can't swear an oath. I'll put it this way. You look at it this way. They swear an oath to support and defend the Constitution before the people. So their oath swearing is before us and to us, and what they swore to was to support and defend the Constitution. But everybody ignores the first part, is the swearing to the people. I'm going to tell you that I've been in many situations where people said, "Oh, I don't have an oath of office." It's like, oh God, here we go. We look up the state constitution and the statutes. Here's their job title. Here's the requirement of their oath of office. And it also says in there where their oath is supposed to be filed. They're supposed to swear to that oath publicly and subscribe to it and have it filed in a place where people can read it to confirm that they actually function lawfully as a public servant. And this oath is important. Go ahead.
I said this on the last stream that I have requested the oath of office for every assistant district attorney in Webb County. And they said that they don't have any filed. They all belong to each individual attorney.
That's absolutely a lie. That's a lie. If you are functioning, the best they could hope for in a scenario like that, which I don't believe, because when they become a licensed attorney, in order to become a licensed attorney and function as an attorney in any state, or they have to go before the state Supreme Court, and they have to swear as an officer of the court. They will faithfully support and defend the constitutions and perform their duties as an officer of the state, blah, 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 blah. It's a little different each state, but that's required there for attorneys. And I will tell you that everybody that functions independently through the district attorney's office as an assistant DA must have a separate oath. The best they could hope for, I was going to say, which I don't see this because it doesn't make sense, it's just not common sense, is they may have a supervisory oath where their duties are performed under the oath of the actual elected district attorney. But I don't believe it because they already have an oath as an attorney. So anybody that says, and it's never their personal property. An oath of office is not, you can have a certified copy, but the official copy still has to be filed on the record for review to the people, because as we live above the line and we created our government, they work for us. The job title is created for us, and whoever sits and wears that clothing for that particular office, for that box that they're in, their duties are performed for our approval and for our service. So that's what I'll say about that. And it's got to be, these are counties over there in Texas, right? County DA?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Webb County, yes.
Okay, well, which would be true for any county. You actually could call another county and ask them where the assistant DA's oaths of office are housed, HOUSED. And they have to have those. If they don't, they do not hold official capacity.
Correct.
And I'm going to back up a step. When somebody, before they assume their official duties, I mean, if you read the oath of office, pretty much any position is, I, so-and-so, do solemnly swear to faithfully perform my duties, let's see, I do so-and-so solemnly swear to support and defend the constitutions of the United States and the state of Texas, for example, in the performance of my duties as okay, whatever your job title is. They have to have that in there in their oath of office, because their oath of office is only for a specific occupation. Now, I don't know if I mentioned this last time. I probably did. There was a person who, yeah, I did, over in Colorado, who we knew, came to our seminars, and grandson got a ticket for not coming to a complete stop at a stop sign, which was bogus according to the video. But the guy who was the police officer did not have his oath of office as required by the law to be a police officer or traffic enforcement officer. The only oath of office he had was for the position of jailer, which means everything he'd been doing for 6 months prior to that as a police officer, he did not hold official capacity, and he did not, he had no authority to do anything. Remember this, we had not empowered him to do anything without that oath. We require the oath first, antecedent to the performance of their duties. And we have the power, and that's why we have public records. Because if they don't have them, then guess what? Then we file notices to get them removed from office, and everything they did prior to the date of having that official oath of office was done without authority, without property, limited delegated authority from the people. Anytime I use the word authority outside of anything above the line, it's limited delegated authority from the people. That's just the long of it. So anyway, now, so let's take a look at some of the people who serve the public, serve us, the people. I'll give you some job titles. All these people are in service to us. They work for us. All politicians, people in the military, all judges, all lawyers. Here's one for you. All public school teachers. All public school teachers are required to swear an oath of office in order to perform the duties as a school teacher in a public school, which means they're paid by tax dollars and so on like that, which means we have oversight and responsibility here. Now, they don't want you to hear that. They want to think that their little club or organization is the one with the power. Hell no. We can step in and wipe them all out with the stroke of a pen, as Camel Toe Harris would say, the stroke of a pen. You know, and because if they perjure their oath, well, guess what? Then we have recourse. Peace
like
officers. Yeah, UISD. All state workers in any type of occupation. All county workers in any occupation. All municipal workers in any city. All federal workers. TSA, Secret Service, IRS, DEA, Homeland Security, everybody, all their appointees, everybody has an oath of office to ensure that our rights are protected. Now, if this is what I was saying the other day, is you've got more power in your pinky than the entire United States government, because the power of our government rests in the people. And we, with our power, delegated through the law to certain people to perform certain functions after they have sworn their oath. So on the left side of that paper, that gives you some examples of the people that serve us. They are not authorities. They are functioning with limited delegated authority to perform certain duties to protect our freedoms and our sovereignty as a people. Remember, our sovereignty means what? Above those that rule. Now, above the line, everything is private, okay, which means privately owned. We're private people. We have privacy in our person home, houses and effects. That's going to come up in the Fourth Amendment. Those things are all protected. People just can't be wandering on your property, can't be walking in your house, because these are private areas. They're protected. And we, the people, chose that they be protected. If you ever heard of the Castle Doctrine, which we talked a little bit about with the Fourth Amendment, your home, the Castle Doctrine, is where the blood of the people was. And the blood, without being spilled, had to be protected. And that's why when they created in England the Castle Doctrine, which we carried over to our Fourth Amendment, the Castle Doctrine is your home, means that no one, especially the government, the people that work for us, can come into our home without proper limited delegated authority to do so. And we talked a little bit about that last week. So everything below the line is public, which means any tax dollars that go in to do anything for the government is ours. Everything is ours. The buildings, the books, the sidewalks, the streets, they're all ours. And below the line, when we don't have judicial justice below the line, we have administrative justice, because everything below the line involves a privilege. Okay, so when you get a driver's license, it's a privilege. And if you read the driver's license laws, it says in there that you are going to be transporting people or goods for profit. You're using the roads for a commercial purpose, therefore you cannot use it for free. Okay, we'll get more into that another day. Yeah, you're going to find out how you've been lied to in such big ways, so many ways. They don't want you to know how much you've been lied to. Because how in the world, if you own the roads and you buy your car and you pay for it, you're not allowed to use your vehicle? Well, shouldn't call it vehicle because it has a legal definition, but use your transportation on the roads you paid for to travel without a permission slip, which is a driver's license. How does that make sense? Okay, above the line, we're a moral people. Below the line, everything is amoral. You cannot have morality involved with the functionings of our government. They function by law, which is amoral. The titles created, of course, are fiction. The justice we receive down below the line with permission slips, that's administrative. It's not judicial. The big difference is that if you get a speeding ticket or a traffic citation of some kind or a parking ticket, those are administrative. They're not judicial. And you will sit before an administrative justice of the peace or judge or magistrate, and they will decide administratively if you violated an administrative code, not a crime. As a matter of fact, in the case of, who was it? I think the name was Battle versus State in Colorado, the United States Supreme Court ruled that traffic violations are not crimes. It's a Supreme Court ruling. Why do they hide that? Why would they hide that? Because they don't want you to do. They want you to be afraid and intimidated, terrified. Everybody below the line has flipped the things upside down. They want you to be afraid. Okay, everything below the line is statute and code determined crimes, and they're ever changing. So that's why we have to watch them. You have to watch the codes. Everything that you're going to see below the line is based on TV propaganda, television, newspapers, movies, education. We are propagandized to be fearful of our government through all these different mediums. And it's exactly opposite of the truth. When we did our seminars, our freedom law seminars, we had literally over the course of several years, we had tens of thousands of people show up. And we literally, with our paperwork and things we've done, we'd helped thousands and thousands of people prevail in different situations in dealing with the government. Okay? But you don't know if you don't know. If you don't know that they work for you, you're going to be afraid of them. If you know that we have the Constitution to ensure that our rights are protected, then that's what we're going to do. So you have to realize that all these people function below the line. There's not a single living person that functions below the line in the Constitution. It's real people above the line who decide they want to serve as a public servant, public functionary, to perform certain duties for the benefit of the people, we the people. And that's basically going through the bottom of the line. You see that pyramid there because our government starts with a point of the Constitution, and there's several different sides to it, which include the U.S. codes, the public codes, the IRS codes, all these other codes. Everything's all through there below in that pyramid. But the reality is that if you actually take the time to read a few things, not a lot, a few things, you're going to find that we the people hold all the authority. And like I said before, some judge pulled me in and said, hey, this is my courtroom. And I said, no, it's not. It's the people's courtroom. You are a public functionary employed to perform certain duties to ensure that the people have judicial justice and substantial justice in this courtroom. That's what we require. So if that makes sense to you, now whenever Ismael gets back, we'll move on to a couple other things. And if you guys have any questions, I think it's opened up for comments and questions. We can answer a couple things, but I hope you understand and say it to yourself repeatedly. You live above the line. You're a living, breathing human being. You're a private United States citizen in the United States. You have all these powers and authorities. We're the ones who create all the laws through our legislation. We elect. Why do we want fair elections, by the way? Why do we want proper elections? This is something I think I mentioned it last time too as well, but it's worth repeating. We are a government that is of the people, which means the citizens. Citizenry is important. Of the people, of the citizens. They are elected by the people, by the citizens, and their function is for the citizens. Abraham Lincoln said, we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people. And so a lot of people that think that anybody that's not a U.S. citizen or involved in the citizenry of a state, they can vote in elections. Absolutely, voter fraud. Absolutely not. You want in a small community or a big community to have a bunch of people from another country that are here illegally or by what other means come in here that are not citizens, and they affect the outcome of elections. And therefore, through legislation, they can have these people in there that affect the outcome of what our laws are. And over the course of time, they can tear down our Constitution and rule it null and void. Hey, it's happened before. We are the best, longest living, running, call it an experiment. I don't like that word too much, but example of a free nation in the history of our world. We're the best, but we've got to keep it that way by being vigilant. We have to make sure that the people that step into public office are, number one, they're there properly, that the people wanted them there, that they didn't cheat their way to get elected in any way, shape, or form, that they are citizens of our United States. You notice they said our United States because it's plural, states is plural. The United States with the word the is a corporation.
So,
We
so
can get
let's
into
see.
that later
Anyone,
on about what happened in 1869, I think it was.
anyone in the chat has any questions?
If you don't,
There's many
forever holds your
comments.
peace, kind of like a marriage.
There's a lot of comments. I haven't seen a question.
Okay, well, if I talk too fast, I'm sorry. I usually do this seminar in the course of 3 hours. This portion of the course is called First Day, above the line, below the line. So everything below the line is fictitious. It's public. I mean, and it's not, it's not, actually it's private, public, but it's owned through the government by the people. But everybody who functions in the government has to have an oath of office. And that's one of the first things I do is I start pulling oaths of office. And I told that story what happened in Hawaii. My gosh, they shut the courts down because they didn't know had the court business there, the court building there since 1938, and no one over the course of 75 years had ever asked for the oath of office of any judge in the state, or before it was a state in 1959, the Republic of Hawaii. No one had ever asked for an oath of office. And we had so many firsts on that. There was a guy in Nevada I was helping with a case. It was a family court case with his son's child support. And I told him to go to the court and get a copy of the judge's oath of office. And the clerk who'd been there 20 years didn't even know where to look. But it took them 3 days, and they found him. And then I said, let's go spend $50 and let's get everybody's oath of office. And so that was like 12 years ago. So we got, I don't know how many oaths of office, like 35 oaths of office, and had them all stamped. And then we found a bunch of people that worked in the government, that worked in the DA's office in particular. Certain people work in the city councils. City council didn't have their oath. The police didn't have their oaths of office. Some of them, police officers, and we had them removed from office. They tried to say that we don't need it. Matter of fact, there's a case going on right now, or I shouldn't call it a case. It's a case of sorts in New Mexico, Albuquerque, New Mexico, where the police chief hasn't sworn an oath of office. It's constitutionally required. None of the peace officers there have an oath of office, but we require it in order for them to be in office. And if they don't, we don't want them there. I want to know that you're loyal. You're not, you have not sworn that oath. I don't want you there until you do, because I want you to know that their accountability is to us, to we the people. They are accountable to us. Now, one of the things I know I'm going to carry on this a little bit here. How long have we been going so far, Ismail?
We're in 45 minutes.
Okay, we won't have much more to do once I'm done here. But I hope you folks are kind of grasping this a little bit. Everything I'm stating here, you'll be able to validate, verify for yourself if that's what you choose to do. You got the power. You can tell a public servant when to shove off. You can also tell them when you want information, they have to provide it for you. But where was I going with that? Something important about public servants.
About the oath of office.
Yeah, the oath of office. Well, we have everything in the constitutions and the statutes to make sure that everything's available to us. But, these people that function there, they pretend like, we have to bow down to them. And I got to tell you an interesting story here, is that it's been a battle because they don't teach this in the school. So, yeah, I know what I was going to tell you now, is that everybody out there who functions in government wants authority. They claim they have authority. They're like, oh, I'm the authority on this. I was like, no, you're not. You're a public servant who's we've endowed with certain limited delegated authorities to uphold the true authority, which is the Constitution and our rights that are guaranteed therefrom. Okay, which they always call constitutional rights. The Supreme Court ruled in a case in 1968 or 69 and said the Constitution does not give rights. It can only guarantee rights that are God granted. But yet again, through the system of propaganda and laziness, people start saying constitutional rights. Even the judges do that. But remember, it's just because somebody's a judge or an attorney doesn't make them smart. It just means they went through a process of education and they could be at the bottom of their class. There's no test to demonstrate how much they know on a daily basis. Okay. So when you deal with people out in the regular world, I don't care who it is, every single person out there wants authority. Everybody wants to be an authority. They want authority because they equate it with power. If you watch any YouTube videos, there's a lot of people that are absolutely psychotic when it comes to believing that they have power they don't have. And it's only out of people's ignorance that they're able to get away with 90% of what they get away with. But the reality is that they don't have those authorities. They have limited delegated authority to perform a certain job, and they're supposed to do it politely and nicely, regardless of how gruff someone might be when they come in, because they're a public servant. Now, I say that because, go ahead, what?
We have positions in Laredo with the title that includes authority.
Oh, no, they're never authorities. No, they can't replace us or God. So, because the only thing that was left here was public servants, well, who would they serve?
Yeah. During COVID, they had a health authority doctor.
Yeah, that would be fun.
Which is now the mayor. Health authority. Yeah. It's now the mayor in Laredo.
So anyway, but everybody wants that power. Everybody wants authority. Everybody wants to, but you run into trouble when all of a sudden they start acting irresponsibly. Nobody wants to be responsible for something gone bad. So all of a sudden they start playing pass the buck. You want authority, but you don't want to function properly. You don't want responsibility. You just want authority. And from responsibility, here's what the last thing they definitely don't want is they don't want liability for their misconduct. And this is the greatest tragedy we're seeing in our world today. And I'm talking about the United States. When these people in the government clubs screw up, they've got the whole team protecting them. We can't have people in our government going to prison. Well, I hope to the God Almighty that Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and these other people that are involved with the U.S. Department of Justice start bringing people to justice. I demand as an American citizen, I demand equal justice for all. Isn't that in the Pledge of Allegiance? With liberty and justice, it says liberty and justice for all. But I want equal justice, and I want substantial justice. If you take the same scenario, a situation, I'm going to give you one right here, and you guys can respond this other way. I don't know. I have to be careful with the words I use here, but where a police officer solicited a woman who he'd pulled over and said, listen, if you do this particular favor for me of an amorous nature, then I will drop your DUI charge and I will not arrest you and take you to jail. So she performs the act. Well, that's called solicitation on his part, but it's called extortion. It's also called an abuse of authority. It's also called the R-PE thing. That's a crime. If I did that and tried to manipulate somebody or extort somebody by those kinds of favors, they would lock my butt up for years. Probably mostly because they hate me. But they they give you what they'd punish you to the full extent of the law. But these guys, they go, oh, well, he was just having a rough night. It's like going, no, he has equal liability for his misconduct. Whatever it is, he has the same liability that Joe Lunchbucket has. And so let's see equal liability. But he's been in public service. Therefore, the bar should be held higher. We hold that bar higher for the people that function in public service. I don't know why they think that they can lower the bar so low that, the common criminal gets the same, they're common criminals, but they don't get the same deal. It drives me nuts. But anyway, I kind of went backwards on that one there. Sorry. But we want people who have limited delegated authority who work for us to be responsible for their conduct and in their conduct. And we want them to have liability when they fail us, because they are failing us. Okay, they have affected the public confidence. There's a phrase I'm looking for, which is escaping me at the moment, but they violated the public trust. And when they do that, no, it's not a simple pat on the wrist. It's not a little, oh, well, he was having a bad day. Well, guess what? Our laws are there to protect us from people having a bad day. And that's when you work harder to keep from effing up. So no excuses. When you are employed in public service, you have a greater responsibility to the people to ensure that you will uphold their rights, do the job that you've been delegated to do with limited delegated authority, and function to our approval. And this is why, see, we're coming up on, we're coming up on an hour here.
Yeah, 53 minutes.
Okay. Well, anyway, what I want people to know is how much power they have, how much control they have. And when you stand firm, and number one is this, is that we were talking today at the round table with Gladius and Shield about a situation. And we quoted something from Shakespeare about somebody we were talking to. It says the gentleman protested too much, or exceedingly. He protested exceedingly. When somebody's complaining too much about something and it's not necessary, chances are they're probably lying. Okay. And I don't want to get into lying too much because we get into accountability and liability for these people that go into a civil rights lawsuit and they get deposed and I don't recall, I don't remember, I don't know. Well, if you're that stupid, you should be immediately terminated. And one of the things I would suggest is the first thing that goes would be the communist police union. The police union was started in like 1917 by two guys, and it's a communist organization. Why? Because they don't protect the best; they protect the worst. And it's not up to our public servants to decide that. It's for us to decide whether or not we want somebody. That's why we have, which we aren't going to talk about much tonight, other than mentioning it. We have special things that we can do within the court system to get things done if we don't like how somebody's doing their job. We have things through quo warranto if somebody's improperly there. We have one of the great not certiorari's, but petitions. We have the three great petitions: the petition for habeas corpus, the petition for certiorari, and the petition for oh god, it's flipping. What's the other one?
Writ of mandamus.
Petition for writ of mandamus. That's the other one. Those are the three great writs that the Constitution guarantees to the people, and they're awesome. If you use them, I'm telling you, they scare the shit out of everybody else. Because you have a DA says, "Nah, we're not going to prosecute him." We did this in another case, up in another state up north near Wisconsin and Minnesota. I won't tell you which one, but the district attorney decided not to prosecute this police officer who had over 200 acts of misconduct, and half of those against one guy, assaulting him in an improper and animalistic way. And the judge says, okay, well, we're going to give you 2 years probation and whatever, something ridiculous, and let him continue to work. He could only work administratively in the office. And I was like, what? So we wrote a petition for certiorari, or petition for writ of mandamus, petitioned the higher court for a writ of mandamus, and said, we want this sentence changed. We want him to be properly treated and sentenced as any other American citizen would be sentenced for conducting himself similarly. It took 6 months. The judge, the bench came back, it was an appellate court ruling, came back, kicked it down and said, yeah, the sentence need to be more in line with the state guidelines for these kinds of criminal acts, which was up to 85 years, no less than 20. So anyway, so he got his sentence reversed and properly adjudicated. And that judge, I'm telling you what, he didn't get elected the next time around, because the people we were working with helping, they went ahead and started a campaign for another guy, and they made sure they put all this stuff out there, what this lousy judge had done. And I will tell you this, don't be afraid of judges. They work for you. They're public servants. It's our courtroom. We own those courtrooms. We own the people that, well, we own the job titles of the people that work there. They work for us. But it's all for us. It's all for us. And I take no crap from these people in there. You know, you do the right thing when you're in there. You observe the decorum. But the reality is that they have a duty to make sure that justice is served, justice to us, and they conduct themselves properly. Now, like in your case, Ismael, I sat in on your hearing the other day with, who's that magistrate, Quiroga?
Uh-huh. Yes.
I'm going to tell you what, if magistrate judge, not a real judge, a magistrate judge who's appointed by whoever's sitting there as a judge, not by the Congress, I'm going to tell you that there's something seriously wrong with you, lady. You need to revisit that hearing and see why you were so abusive to a pro se plaintiff who has come in there seeking justice and harassing him the way you did. You need to learn how to talk with a little more professionalism and a little more respect. He's the guy, one of the people that are paying your flipping salary. Cal, you're an embarrassment to the bench. I can't believe somebody's not watching over her. But anyway, that's me. They need to conduct themselves responsibly and respectfully. And I'm going to finish on this note. And the reason I talk about public service with great respect, I was helping with a federal civil rights lawsuit about 7 years ago. And I read an article in the paper about a state representative who was trying to get rid of, what was that? Head's full right now. Get rid of stealing people's property, civil forfeiture. They're trying to get rid of civil forfeiture. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm working on a case that involves civil forfeiture. So I went to the state capitol and I went to see the state representative in there. Oh my, every single person I encountered in there, like 15 people. Everybody said, how you doing, sir? How can we help you today? And I was like, what? By the third person, I said, now, why are you being so nice? I said, most government officials I've met, at least on the municipal level or the county level, they're absolute assholes. They just disrespect the public. They said, because we here know that we work for you. And I was like, well, I know that. I'm just surprised that you know that. And it was just an unbelievable experience. They were so respectful. They were polite. They were nice. Is there anything can we get you a glass of water? Can we, not a glass, a bottle of water? Something like that. You okay? I was like, yeah, man. You got a bologna sandwich, or you got, some empanadas or something like that. But anyway, they were just so unbelievably respectful and professional. And that surprised me. And I thought that should be the standard in every single governmental office in this country. They have lost their way. They forgot who they are and who they serve. And I think I want to read one thing to you here. Let me look for this here real quick, which is one of the things that we use in Texas in the, what is that? What you guys have there? The Public Information Request.
Public Information Act, yes.
Yeah, Public Information Request. I want to read something to you. The Public Information Request. Okay, this is we're guaranteed public records by the First Amendment, just so you know. And we'll talk more about that later on if you want to. But it says under 55, where to go?
551.
Yeah, 552. Oh, okay. This is 552.001. It's the Texas Government Code, Title 5, Open Government Ethics, Subtitle A, Open Government, Chapter 552, Public Information. I'm going to read this because this is important, because this is going to help validate. Validate means to become, to be observed to be or made to be truthful. Okay, 552.001, policy construction. Okay, subsection A. Now, Ismail has this from his public records request that he can make available if anybody wants this, because it's important that you know who you are. You live above the line. Here's what it says. Under the fundamental philosophy of the American constitutional form of representative government that adheres to the principle that government is the servant and not the master of the people. It is the policy of this state that each person is entitled, unless otherwise expressly provided by law, at all times to complete information, entitled at all times to complete information about the affairs of government and the official acts of public officials and employees. The people, in delegating authority, do not give their public servants the right to decide what is good for the people to know and what is not good for them to know. The people insist on remaining informed so they may retain control over the instruments that they have created. The provisions of this chapter shall be liberally construed to implement this policy of public records, and they shall be liberally construed in favor of granting a request for public information. Did you like that? It just validated everything I just told you about who's the servant and who holds the authority. We the people. Texas, God love you. You did a beautiful job on that. Did a beautiful job of just letting everybody know in the government who they are servant to. Anyway, I went a little bit long. Go ahead, Ismail.
The bad thing is that most public servants, especially in Texas, they believe that they are the masters, not the servants.
And that's why it is the duty of the people to put them in their place. And that's why the laws are written to,
And I have successfully petitioned, was it the city of Rio Bravo, because they were not giving me information.
Right.
So I sued them for information, and they had to release everything. The thing is, there's several comments here that we're delusional because we believe how the Constitution is written, and they're supposed to obey us, and we are above them, and all that.
Guess what? If you want us to have open debate, just let me know what their foundation of belief. What is your foundation of belief other than just belief? Where are your facts? Because I'll
the
tell you
thing
this:
is,
you are the precise person I'm talking about that has been subjected to the delusions of propaganda that have been spewed forth by our government and the media. You are the sucker. So this is your red pill or blue pill moment. You can stay where you are and live that way, or you can wake up and start fighting for the truth of our country, for the right of your kids and your grandkids and your neighbors to have the protections of the constitutions and remain a free nation. So if you have
right.
if you don't have anything more than belief, then I'm sorry, you know, you're deluded. You're
The thing
proving my
is
point.
that the knowledge, people say knowledge is power, and that is really true. Knowledge is power, and how do you make them obey, or not obey, but how do you make them
Comply.
follow the law the way it's written? Oh, you make him do it because of the knowledge
Several
you have.
mechanisms within the law protected by the Constitution. You can start with letters. You can go with petitions for writ of mandamus. You can sue them. We can bring criminal charges against them. I mean, like I said, we have a great system of law. The system of law that we have is absolutely fantastic and is amazing. And everything in there gives us the power. What you don't do is say, I don't know what to do and give up. What you do is just say, I will find a way. And on Gladius and Shield, we have an email there. If you have questions, we can answer questions for you there. GladiusandShield.com, GladiusandShield.com, GladiusandShield.com. And we have had
Right.
tons of victories there. If you have questions, we're happy to answer them for you. We're happy to help because we want the power to stay in the possession of the people and not be usurped by a government that is deluding you into believing something that's not true. You don't have to believe their propaganda. You are the authority. You have the power, and you can stand on that power. And remember this, the best thing you can do if you're in a situation, you don't have to yell and argue with these people. Ask a question. And one of the key questions you ask them is, one, are you in your official capacity right now? What is that official capacity? What is your official job title? Do you have an oath of office? We have a list of the questions you ask any public official, including police officers, peace officers. Ask them the questions. You're going to find out. And I'm going to tell you a story here. I was sitting one time with a gentleman that was under investigation by the state attorney general's office in another state. And I was out of state helping in another case. He asked me if I would help him. So I stayed up that night looking over his paperwork and everything. I was like, well, okay, let me put these things together. We went there to the meeting. I said, well, I handed him a paper with just a series of questions, 8 questions, and now there's a total of 11. And you never get past 6 or 7. Never, never. The first question he goes in there, he says, could I please have your official job title? What is your first official job title? Nobody there was a state attorney, deputy assistant state attorney general or anything like that, or whatever they call themselves, deputy or assistant. Nobody was, they were all investigators. And I was like, what? We looked at each other. I said, you're here being questioned and there's not a single attorney in this room? I said, oh my gosh, you read the next question. Do you have a copy of your oath of office as required by this state statute, blah, 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 blah. And at that point, everybody stopped and they said, we're going to terminate this interview at this moment. And all five of them got up, left the room, and we were left sitting there. And I was like, holy crap, what are they doing? I said, okay. I said, set your timer. I said, in 2 minutes, we're out of here. I said, so he said a timer for 2 minutes. We got up and I opened the door real slowly and I looked out and there was a guy waiting for us out there in the lobby. He goes, pointing that they're way down the hall that way. And I said, okay. So I stepped out and I said, come on, David, we're out of here. And they were all sitting there huddled up in this little corner in this little cubbyhole talking. And I said, well, if we are going to continue this, I said, we're out of here. And they said, fine, we're going to continue this another day. And I said, I want the names, job titles, and employee numbers of every single person that was in this interview. And we walked out. Well, as soon as we hit the stairs, I said, start running. Because I don't know if they're going to have an army of people chasing us down. Oh, man. But anyway, we laughed. I was laughing all the way through the parking lot. We got to the car and we took off. And that was the end of it. That was the end of it.
I
We
asked,
didn't even know their job title. Everybody assumes and presumes they know who a public servant is without any validating or verifying of their position. I want their name, their job title, their employee number, and their supervisor. Those are the minimum things I require. Everything else I can do. It's academic. And I'll tell you, doing our seminars, we were doing those things. I'm telling you what, half the world is out there chasing down oaths of office, finding out all these people that didn't have oaths of office and therefore did not have lawful authority to be doing anything in that specific occupation in public service. Anyway, lots of stories, lots of fun. And to you several deluded people out there, take the red pill. You'll wake up. It's worth going down the rabbit hole, but you'll find out everything I'm saying is proven and true through Supreme Court rulings, through the constitutions of the state, through the state statutes, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, we have the power. You live above the line. You've got more power in your pinky than the entire United States government. Start exercising it. It's you. And if you have questions, go to GladysandShield.com. Send us your question or get a hold of Ismael at Corner News. And let's keep our country strong. Keep it free from tyranny. Keep it free for Americans.
We can talk more next episode about how to manage your case, whether it's criminal or civil case. What do you think? Is that
okay?
Okay.
From getting into court.
Right.
Yeah, sounds like a lot of fun. You have a lot of experience with that.
Well, only 4 federal lawsuits and 11 criminal cases, and what?
Yeah,
5?
the Texas 11, man. No convictions, no trials, no nothing.
Nothing.
And yet some of these judges can't seem to figure out that, the public servants aren't doing anything wrong. 100% they're imputed by law to know what they're supposed to do. But we'll talk about that later. We'll talk about what impute means. So anyway, God bless everybody. Love you a bunch. Stay safe. Be good. Love your neighbor. Be good to people. Don't kick dogs unless they try to bite you. And
don't shoot dogs.
Follow this guy right here. Follow that guy.
Side.
He's an amazing man.
Other side.
All right. Good night. I'm out.
All right. Thanks everyone for watching, and we'll catch you on the next live stream. If you missed the first part, we did a live stream last week, but it was on Facebook. So if you missed it, go visit Corners News on Facebook, and you can see the first part. And we have a different topic for next show. So thanks for watching, everyone. Appreciate you. Thanks for the donations. Ripple Effect Media, J Meadow, and everyone else for commenting. Thank you.